Hello students. Last lecture I had covered the temperate grassland biome, the taiga biome, and I gave you all an introduction about the tundra biome. I spoke to you all about the tundra biome as in what is being told about vegetation, animal life, the human life and the current status. Let's understand more about the tundra biome. Now the tundra is a biome where the tree growth is hindered. It is hindered by low temperature and short growing seasons. The term tundra comes from the Russian word tundar, means uplands, means treeless mountain tract. There are some common animals in the tundra, which are the polar fox and the white fox. When you look at the tundra is called the cold plains of the far north. It is also called the land of the midnight sun. It is called the frozen prairie, or it is called the ice deserts. What are the characteristics what we had done in the previous class? I will just repeat it again, wherein the human life and the current status is concerned. So before that, coming to the characteristics, we'll just understand what is the human life of it. The human life basically is very cold climate and the settlements are very sparse. I will cover that also. So here the characteristics of tundra are it is extremely cold climate. There is low biotic diversity. There is simple vegetation structure. There is limitation of drainage, short season of growth and reproduction. The energy and nutrients are in the form of dead organic material. There are large population oscillations. Now, if you talk about tundra, there are different types of tundra. So you all can identify it through their characteristics. The Arctic tundra, it is located in the northern hemisphere, encircling the North Pole and extending south to the coniferous forests of the taiga. It is known for its cold desert-like conditions. The average winter temperature is 34 degrees, but the average summer temperature is 3 to 12 degrees centigrade, which enables this biome to sustain life. Yearly precipitation includes melting of snow 15 to 25 centimeters. There is a layer of permanently frozen subsoil called permafrost which exists, which is I told you all in the previous class also. The alpine tundra herein, when we talk about the alpine tundra, is located on the mountains. So it is also known as the mountain biome. Alpine tundra is located on mountains throughout the world at high altitude where trees cannot grow. The growing season is approximately 180 days. The trees cannot grow at this high altitude. Most of the alpine tundra plant life consists of shrubbery and small leafy plants. What kind of tundra climate we have seen? The main seasons are winter and summer. Spring and fall are only short periods between winter and summer. Now when we talk about winter, there is place Alaska north of Atigun Pass, and in summer Lake Clark at the National Park. During the short summers, the top layer of soil may thaw just long enough to let plants grow and reproduce. Below the soil is the tundra's permafrost, a permanently frozen layer of earth. The ground is always frozen beneath the top layer of soil. So trees can't send their roots down. In tundra, basically the soil is very low in nutrients and minerals except for one when the soil can obtain nutrients from animal droppings. The soil also becomes frozen a short ways below the ground due to the extremely low temperatures of the tundra. Because of the poor quality of soil, so the poor soil quality also contributes to short growth periods of only 45 to 90 days. Vegetation in this Arctic tundra is limited. There are only about 1700 different species, mostly shrubs, sedges, mosses, lichens, and grasses. Arctic tundra plants must adapt to the cold, dark conditions of the tundra as the sun does not rise during the winter months. These plants experience brief periods of growth in the summer when temperatures are warm enough. When we talk about the plant adaptations or the animal adaptations, the plant adaptation is growing close to the ground, having shallow roots to absorb the limited water resources. The trees grow less than 1 meter high. When we talk about the animal adaptation, large mammals are heavily insulated against the cold and migrate to warmer areas in the winter. Smaller mammals survive by burrowing and hibernating during the winter. You can see the different types of animals: muskox, polar bear, caribou, the white fox. They are beautiful looking animals. Arctic ground squirrel, Arctic hare, reindeer. I mean, most of these animals are also getting endangered or nearing extinct. Now coming to the next biome, that's the mountain or highland biome. Now in mountain or highland biome, the latitudinal extent is not specific. It depends on altitude, slopes of high mountain ranges such as the Himalayas, the Andes and the Rockies. The vegetation over here, when we talk about the vegetation here ranges from deciduous to tundra bearing according to the altitude. Because of low temperatures and the winds, most plants are small and perennial. In Himalayas, for example, the rhododendron plants grow on most mountains. Oak, laurel and chestnut trees are also found up to 2000 meters above sea level. Pine trees are found up to 4000 meters. Beyond that, only lichens, grass and moss can be found. Regolith soils are found over slopes which are not very fertile. What is the animal life in mountain or highland biome? The fauna, hence any deer, bears, wolves, mountain lions, leopards, squirrels, rabbits, and a wide variety of birds, reptiles, and amphibians. Animals with special adaptation to snow can be found. In Himalayas, for example, one of the main animals of this mountainous biome here is the yak. It has a lot of long hair for warmth. Other animals found over here are the tigers, the monkeys, the leopards and elephants according to the altitude, depending upon the height or the altitude. What kind of human life is seen in the mountain or highland biome? In some regions, people grow crops such as tea, rice and barley on mountains. Grazing and sheep rearing are primary occupations. Tourism has developed in such biomes. People come here for trekking, paragliding and to get relief from heat. Transhumance is also practiced. Shepas, Bakrawals, Lepchas, Bhutias are communities living in the Himalayan mountain biomes. Talking about the last subtopic in the highland biome, that's the current status. These places again are being overcrowded because of over-tourism. Mountain biomes are also threatened by deforestation, wildfires, hunting, poaching, and urban sprawl, increase in urbanization. Till now, what I had covered was these biomes: tundra, boreal forest, I told you all, temperate deciduous forests, tropical rainforests, grasslands, warm deserts, cold deserts, desert biomes. All of this has been covered. So you all can see where the arrows from warm to cold go and dry to wet go. So this is a brief structure wherein which all biomes have been covered and which are extending from warm to cold and dry to wet. This is what I had spoken about when I introduced my lesson biomes. I spoke to you all about individual, then population, how population becomes a community, how communities form ecosystem, and how ecosystems, a set of ecosystems turn into a biome, which is there ultimately in the biosphere. This is a world map which shows the different biomes. You all can see the equator, and near the equator you can see most of the savanna, tropic equatorial forests and all of those. Tropic of Capricorn and Tropic of Cancer, the savannas, where are they located? There are color coordinations given, color contrast given, wherein you all can identify the different biomes which we have studied. So till now what we've studied is tropical, the savanna, the desert, the deciduous, the tundra, the taiga, all of those. The tundra basically is an open boggy biome. It covers 1/5 of the Earth's land surface. It has low annual precipitation, usually less than 10 inches. Water is unavailable mostly of the year because it is frozen. Permafrost is one big important characteristics of the tundra and the taiga biome. Okay, the inhabitants include foxes, lemmings, owls, and caribou. The taiga, in that it's called the subarctic. Climates are cold and wet. It is also called the coniferous forest. It extends across vast areas of Eurasia and North America. It contains primarily spruce and fir coniferous trees. It is one of the largest biomes on Earth. The winters are long and cold. The precipitation falls primarily in the summer. It contains many large mammals, which are the elk, the moose, the deer, wolves, bears, lynxes, and wolverines. The general information about this is given over here. They are high mountain areas, what average temperature they have, how is the winter, the limiting factors, which are several: temperature, lack of carbon dioxide, high UV wavelengths, precipitation, which is 30 centimeters per year. The species diversity over here: animals only warm blooded can be found. Different animals have been told different what is the plant life, what kind of plants can be found. Look at this food chain for you all to understand. People in the alpines, that's in the mountain highland biome, they are specifically adapted to the living conditions. They are large lung capacity, more hemoglobin in blood, and the Sherpas are the world's highest living population. What are the characteristics? It's extreme cold and wind, high altitude, little carbon dioxide, strong sunlight, high UV exposure. Animals, different plants. Now when we come to the aquatic, that's the last biome I'll be talking about. You have studied the terrestrial biomes. Now this is one aquatic biome. We found biomes in water too. Here the plants and animals have adapted. This is the last biome what we are going to study about, and we are going to get some more information about marine biome and aquatic biome. Here the plants and animals had adapted themselves to the existing climatic conditions. Approximately 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by oceans. Besides the oceans, we have rivers, lakes, which are freshwater sources. The aquatic biomes consists of any part of the earth that is covered with water. This includes fresh water and salt water. The aquatic biome can be further divided into freshwater, marine biome, wetland biome, coral reef biome, all the biomes which are water related. These subdivisions are based on the salt content of the water and the aquatic plants that live in there. Now, when we talk about the marine biome, there are three layers to recognize. The top layer is euphotic. The sunlight reaches here. This can be around 200 meters deep. This is home to many fishes, sea turtles, jellyfish, seals, corals, zooplanktons, and mangroves. I've spoken to you all about zooplanktons and all the other planktons and all of that in detail. In the middle is the dysphotic layer. Here some light penetrates to the bottom part. This is around 1000 meters deep from mean sea level. Except few phytoplankton sunk from upper layer. Plants are not found here in this layer. What kind of animals aquatic animals do we see? Squid, cuttlefish, wallfish, swordfish, sea dragons are found. The animals are adapted to darkness, cold water and high pressure. When we talk about the third layer, it is the deepest layer, which is called the apotic layer. It ranges from 1000 meters to 4000 meters. No light penetrates here. There is no living plant life. Inhabitants of this cold, dark environment include elusive giant squid, bioluminescent jellyfish, anglerfish, fish. Sperm whales enter this zone to hunt but return to the upper layers. Now, beyond this third layer, the darkest and the deepest zone extending upon the seafloor. Here, the animals are adapted to survive on detritus under even great pressure. Let's throw some light on marine biome. First, aquatic biome, they are freshwater, lakes, ponds, streams and rivers, marshes and swamps are there. Marine, ocean, coastal wetlands. When we talk about the freshwater lakes and ponds, where there are very small and seasonal to very large and deep, summer top layer warmest, winter bottom layer is the warmest. Lake and pond life, you all see different insects, fishes, plants. There is microscopic life which is available here. Fishes are feeders and predators also are there. Plants more, they grow along the shore, which are less deeper if you go. Ponds will have plants even in the deepest parts. Rivers and streams, bodies of water moving in one direction. The source is spring, snow melts and the lakes. There are cold and fast moving near sources. High oxygen levels. Middle diverse ecosystem, slower moving. Mouth warmest, lowest and oxygen levels. Wetlands can be swamp and marshy. Swamp, when we talk, there are trees, poorly drained land near rivers. Marsh, lowland, shallow waters, reeds and cattails, rich sediments. Wetland animal life, what kind of animal life is here? Ducks, geese, muskrats, nutria, turtles, frogs, newts, salamanders and alligators. Wetland plant life, when you see, there are marshes, cattails, swamps, bald cypress. When we talk about the marine biome, what is marine biome here? It is the largest biome on the planet. As I told you all, I'll be discussing more about the marine biome. It is divided into zones according to how much light penetrates in the water. When there is sunlight, which layer I told you all, I read it to you all, that was euphotic. Twilight is the middle layer, dysphotic. And midnight, there's total darkness, apotic. The sunlight zone is down to about 600 feet below surface. 90% of the marine life lives here. Photosynthesis also takes place here. It includes tidal zones. Twilight zone, when we talk about, plants can't grow over here. From 600 to 3000 feet below the surface, there is very little light, there is no plant life, there are specialized animals. When we talk about the midnight zones, it's 3000 feet to the bottom, no light, no plants. It's cold except by thermal vents. Very high pressure. There is very high pressure. The coastal wetlands. When we talk about the coastal wetlands, there are halophytic plants, salt-loving plants, where fresh water meets salt water. There is brackish water, erosion and flood control. Salt marshes, where rivers meet oceans, temperature, there is abundant bird life, tidal flooding, there are floods every day, sand or mud flats. Mangrove swamps, mangrove trees, tangled roots, pneumatophores, special adaptations that supply tree with air, tropical protect shoreline. So with this, I have covered the marine biome. That was the last biome. Now, this lesson was totally dedicated to biomes. It's a big lesson wherein I started with what is biomes. I spoke to you all in detail about what is an ecosystem. I showed you all the differences between a biome and ecosystem. What is the difference between the ecosystem? The first biome which I finished was tropical rainforest biome. That comes under terrestrial biome. The second what I did was tropical deciduous biome. Then I spoke to you all about the savanna grassland biome. Next I covered was the tropical desert biome. Then the Mediterranean biome was covered with temperate deciduous biome. Then temperate grassland biome. I told you all about the difference between temperate and tropical grasslands. I spoke to you all at length about the taiga biome. Then I spoke about the tundra biome, the subarctic and the Arctic regions, also the animal life and the plant life. Then I spoke to you all about the mountain and a highland biome. The last what I spoke to you all was aquatic biome, and I gave you all some brief introduction about the marine biome. So this sums up with all the biomes which have been covered and taught, and this especially this lesson consists of what is the human life in each biome, the animal life in which in each biome, the vegetation, the current status, and certain places the use of these biomes. So there could be questions, long questions which could be asked based on this chapter, wherein y'all could have to give some more details relating to the latitude, the climate, the animal, the plant, and the human life, all of those. And with this we come to an end. The next class I will be talking about the new chapter, that is the ninth chapter, disaster management. Thank you, class.